So just because your culture in where you work is dysregulated, nobody else knows how to do this,
Mhm.
it's even more important to focus on being able and creating boundaries and standing up for yourself and setting those limits on taking care of your own nervous system. It's critical.
Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Sharice Williams Show podcast, the podcast designed exclusively for female nurses looking to create, launch, and scale their own online holistic health coaching businesses. I am so excited, you guys. You don't even know how excited I am to share someone very special with you. And so let me just hop right into it. I'm going to share with you. I'm going to introduce her, and then we'll kind of jump into our conversation today, which is all around the importance of nervous system regulation. So important. So my special guest today is a business prosperity coach, motivational speaker, author, and podcast host of the Business of Happiness podcast. Can we just say the Business of Happiness podcast? I love it. She is passionate about empowering business leaders and leaders of their own dreams to strive for inner fulfillment. She is the founder of Radical Happiness for Practitioners, a transformational program featuring the Mind Magic Framework, guiding leaders in healthcare to empower their own healing and happiness. She teaches that within each of us lies the power to live a life of enormous abundance and joy, and that when you feel good, you can do good. You
Mhm.
guys, help me welcome my special friend, colleague, all the things, Dr. Karen McCarthy.
Hello. Thank
Hey,
you.
hey,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Karen. Oh my gosh, so excited that you're here with us today.
I am so honored, Charisse. I've been so excited about chatting with you. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm excited. Clearly, I don't know how many times I've said excited in the last 2 minutes, but it's been a lot. Um, and let me just share with you guys. So Dr. Tarryn and I met about, I was going to say a year ago, but it was in January 2023 is when we met. And when you just connect with someone and you're like, oh, I love her. She's my people. There was this connection,
Yeah.
and it was, I think it's all around, like, we're very happy people, right? It's the happy, it's the inner, we just have this energetic thing. And anyway, and I cherish it. So
I'm
I
so glad to hear you speak so positively because I felt like I came on too strong. I
That's
guys,
hilarious.
guys, I basically dove into Sharice's lap. I did. I just like sat down on her lap and went for a hug.
Oh my gosh. And it wasn't awkward or anything.
No, it was wonderful.
And we have since shared lots of hugs and
Yes,
lap hugs.
yes.
Oh my gosh. And it's so funny because, yeah, like, who does that? But I didn't think I didn't find it strange at all.
Well, I don't normally do that, but you're right. It was a kismet. There was a
It
connection
was
there. So I'm so grateful. So
for
grateful.
sure.
Mm.
For sure. And so today, we're talking about something that's near and dear to the both of us, which is nervous system regulation. And so let's just hop into it. So first of all, what is nervous system regulation? And it's funny because if you are listening and you caught the episode, probably, I don't know, probably a month or two ago, I did a whole episode on nervous system regulation. But it's such an important part of what we need, or we get to pay attention to, and that we get to incorporate into our everyday life. It's so important that it definitely bears mentioning time and time and time and time and time and time again. So I will continue to preach from the rooftops about the importance of nervous system regulation. But I would love to hear from you, why is nervous system regulation important? And you can even tie it back to your background.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to you for constantly bringing this forward because I think, especially in healthcare,
Yeah.
especially in business,
Yes.
especially as capable, brilliant, powerful creator women who take care of everyone else around them.
You know it.
I think that having an intention of regulate and a knowledge about how to regulate your nervous system is so critical to see the beautiful fruits of your labor and being able to see and hold support. So if we just
Mhm.
talk about taking care of our patients, for all of your beautiful listeners who are currently in direct patient care, there is nothing more important than regulating your own nervous system as a
Gosh.
provider. And so, what are we even talking about? And I know your listeners are so attuned to what this is, but just in case you're a new listener, recognizing your own nervous system when it's amped up and
Mhm.
you're in that place of fight or flight, that or freeze or fawn or flop,
Mhm.
in that sympathetic nervous system storm, which, can we get real, happens all day long.
All day long.
And if you think it isn't happening to you, then you're not paying attention and you're not being aware, because it's actually, as a human being living in this world, and
Yeah.
especially in healthcare, especially in business, especially as a parent,
Mhm.
impossible not to be triggered and activated during
Right.
the day. And one of the first superpowers is paying attention to when you are activated. Just being aware
The
is a
awareness.
huge step.
Absolutely.
A huge
Absolutely.
step. And what I was seeing, so for those of you who don't know, my background is in orthodontics. I'm a dentist. And so my peeps in my dental world, I was recognizing so many incredible men and women literally putting smiles on children's faces on a daily basis,
Yeah.
and so stressed out, so amped up. And, I'd have friends of mine who would go to a new dentist, especially after the COVID thing. How many of us got off of our dental
Oh, yeah.
care, right? People missed their cleanings and ended up with a new dentist, and some
Yep.
dentists closed their offices. And so a friend of mine went to a new dentist. She said, "Oh my God, Taryn, I couldn't believe he was so nice to me, but he literally threw an instrument at his assistant."
Oh,
And the first thing I thought was, this poor man is in such a stressed out state. He's
yeah.
not even aware of his actions.
Mhm.
And that's why we need nervous system regulation, not because we're throwing things at one another, but because we're unaware of how an amped up, revved up, stimulated sympathetic nervous system storm is impacting the way we interact, the way
Yes.
we think,
The way we make decisions, business decisions, family decisions, uh,
all of the above.
all of the above. Patient care decisions,
Yeah.
all of the above.
All of the above. And, we hear whispers of this in our community. So I don't know how much of this language has been going around in your worlds, but definitely this idea of compassion fatigue,
Mhm. Mhm.
or
Mhm.
where we just don't have, or even decision fatigue. Like,
Yes,
any kind of
absolutely.
fatigue is an indication that you are in a
Dysregulated.
absolute dysregulated space. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, this is why I feel so passionate about it, and why I constantly preach, when you feel good, you can do good. And what I'm using that silly little phrase to really exemplify, when you can pay attention to your body and have awareness of your nervous system and how it's impacting your body,
Right.
then you can help to learn how to calm your nervous system down to that beautiful place of calm
Mm.
and clarity and
Yes.
presence. And that's when we start to being able to tap into those beautiful parts of us that we love, like compassion and
Mhm.
decision making and
Mhm.
creativity and presence. And,
Yeah.
I think it's also what has led our beautiful colleagues to burnout.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%.
We all talk about burnout all the time in the medical and dental spheres, but we don't talk about what led us there. And a lot of it is this idea of pushing through,
Right.
forcing our bodies through this nervous system storm, the sympathetic nervous system storm, and not paying attention to our dysregulated nervous system, and pushing beyond and tearing ourselves down to the ground.
Right.
But there's so much opportunity to pay attention and then to calm and regulate your own nervous system. And when you do, the magic
Oh my
happens.
gosh, doesn't it? Doesn't it? And I'll just add this. because I think that, not that I think, I know that it's been modeled. It's pervasive in healthcare,
Yes.
that you push through. I mean, you think about even residents, and even when I came out of nursing school, I went straight into critical care, and I had a 6 month critical care residency. And but even like if you look at it, residents for physicians, it's you go and you push through and you suck it up and you keep going and you keep going and you're tired and you keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and it's been modeled and we've been indoctrinated. Like nervous system, what? It's like, yeah, we learn about the nervous system
Yeah.
in theory, but we don't practice regulating our own nervous system. And then it becomes a compound effect,
Yes.
day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, decade after decade.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we have burnout.
100%. And I'm so glad you brought this up because it becomes a culture and it's already
Yes,
established
it
as a
is.
culture. Let's just be honest. In
Hmm.
medicine, this is an established culture
Right.
and it comes from the leadership all the way down.
Yeah.
And, when your doctor or team leader or the person who's in charge is dysregulated, guess what? She expects you to be dysregulated.
Absolutely.
If somebody's working through lunch,
Uh-huh.
which I think 99.9% of our people are,
Yeah.
they're dysregulated and they're expecting you to work through lunch and they're expecting you to be showing up all the time
Exactly.
and pushing through. And so I agree with you. It's a culture and it does start in residency. I'll never forget. I remember my husband's an oral surgeon and I'll never forget when he was in residency, the 80-hour work week was enforced.
Hmm.
And for those of you who aren't old enough, like I'm aging myself here, who aren't old enough to know what that is, that was literally when they said, "We will not allow our residents to work more than 80 hours a week because it's not healthy." They were working over 80 hours a
Right.
week, and they were saying 80 is the cutoff, guys.
Like,
This is where
really?
we
It's insane.
it's insane,
It's insane.
and I do wanna say that in recognizing that that's the culture we're swimming in right now,
Mhm.
that's the reality.
Mhm.
We also have to be very courageous to recognize our own responsibility in it.
Absolutely.
So just because your culture in where you work is dysregulated, nobody else knows how to do this,
Mhm.
it's even more important to focus on being able and creating boundaries and standing up for yourself and setting those limits on taking care of your own nervous system. It's critical.
It's absolutely critical. And not only, if we're definitely, if you're still in the if you're taking care of patients, but it's equally important as an entrepreneur working from home. It is equally important because, and dare I say, it's what I would consider the highest form of self care. Like
Yes.
we talk about self care, like, oh, okay, mani and petty and bubble bath, and all those are fine, and all those can be, components of self care if they do truly refill your cup. Now, if it's just another thing on the list of things to do and it's stressful, then no, we won't put that in the self care category. But checking in with yourself, you mentioned, being aware of how you are feeling, and then doing something to help yourself regulate. That's self-care all day long.
Absolutely. And many of the things you just mentioned actually are nervous system regulation tools.
Yeah, true.
So, and that's where I think we got a little bit misconstrued over time,
Yeah.
because we started equating self-care with
Luxury
indulgence.
indulgence. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
But actually
And
yeah,
that's
there are
true.
there are components where they're actually serving you in that way,
Absolutely.
you
If,
know?
if, if, and so here, yeah, if
Yeah.
if we're actually, again, if it's refilling our cup. So for
Yes.
instance, I have a girlfriend that she has, I don't know, I think 9 businesses. Some of them are brick and mortar, some of them are, one's a product-based business. Anyway, she's got a lot of businesses. And when she is getting a manicure or a pedicure, she's on her laptop. She doesn't go anywhere with
Oh,
her laptop. And I was like, we can't count that.
nope.
Like that's a list, a thing to do on your to-do list, and it's not relaxing. You're not even present. So
No.
let's start there. But if but just making that distinction as long as it's refilling your cup, as long as you are present,
Yes.
that absolutely you are definitely regulating your nervous system. So I would love for you to share, because share your experience, because thought I thought I was pretty. I mean, it wasn't really even a thought that my nervous system was regulated. I didn't know that it wasn't regulated until I became aware of what actual nervous system regulation was, and then I started implementing practices. And
Yeah.
I thought, is this how I'm supposed to feel like? This is what I'm supposed to feel like? And I
Mm.
thought I was cool, calm, and collected before. And so I would love to hear your experience kind of before you really started implementing nervous system regulation tools, or, we don't really like the word tools, do we? Before you started embodying the practice of nervous system regulation, how about that?
Yeah, love that.
Yeah, where were you before?
Yeah, I love that question. And I think this is what so many of us get to. It's that old question, do you have to get to rock bottom before you make a
Mm,
change kind of thing?
right.
But I think when it comes to nervous system regulation, that's often where we have to get. Not have to, but where we end up being
Yeah. Right.
burnt out. Let's just say burnout is rock
Mhm.
bottom. Like that's where it's like I can do no more. I am burnt out. I hate this.
Yeah.
I'm miserable every day. And that's really where I got, you know.
Mm,
And yes, I think that one of the pieces of awareness is recognizing where you are. I love using this idea of a ruler.
mhm.
So if you imagine a ruler, so funny, before we got on, you were talking about rulers, Sharice. You were telling me about my rulers. But if you imagine the image of a ruler, imagine 0 is calm, cool, collected, so peaceful, this really parasympathetic state, right?
Mhm.
In fact, I'm going to give you a visual for a moment. Just close your eyes, if you will, if you're listening. If it's safe, if you're driving, please don't close, but just take a deep breath with me and just hold it at the top and exhale. And let's actually just take one more. Take a nice deep breath in through your belly, from your belly. Really, really fill, and hold it at the top. And fully exhale. And with your eyes closed, just imagine that you're in the most peaceful, beautiful space. For me, that's always in nature, but it can be wherever you like. Just picture yourself there and just take another nice deep breath in. Just picture the beauty of it and hear the sounds all around you. Maybe it has a smell. Just be there for a moment. Breathe in again and relax. Okay. Just notice how this feels in your body. And when you're ready, you can just open your eyes and you can literally hear the tone of my voice has changed. The speed at which I'm speaking has changed. Just that feeling, let that be 0 on your ruler. That's calm.
Mhm.
That's a regulated nervous system to the extreme. That's parasympathetic nervous system rest and digest. Okay.
Yes.
Now on that ruler, I'm still there.
I know, me too.
It
I'm
feels
like,
so
Can
good.
we just lay down
Just
now?"
stay right there.
Yeah.
But if you've played along with me, now you know what that feels like, right?
Right.
And now imagine that ruler, and 10 is, you've had the worst day, you're so stressed out, everyone's demanding of you, you didn't hit your Q2 goals, you didn't, people are yelling at you, people are upset and angry, and Zoom didn't work, and you know, there's a lot of stress on you, right? You're beginning to question even doing this at all, whatever business venture you're in, and your kids are failing out of school. We're talking stress, okay?
Mhm.
What most of us don't pay attention to is all along in between,
Right.
from between 0 and 10. And one of the most powerful practices is checking in with yourself several times during the day because we can be incredible. I'm a meditation. I will not let it's my non-negotiable every
Same,
single morning of my life. Isn't it amazing, Charisse?
same.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And meditation has been the thing I attribute my business growth to, hands down,
Mhm. Mhm.
hands down.
Yes.
The thing I attribute my incredible parenting, I say that tongue in cheek, but seriously, I'm only a good parent because I meditate.
Yeah.
Anyway, I you can have a beautiful meditation practice in the morning. You can have a delicious gratitude practice at night, which I swear by too. Go to bed and reflect on your beautiful day so that you have a gorgeous night's sleep. But giving yourself time and space during the day when those patients are demanding,
Yep.
when the car breaks down on the way to work, each moment during the day and recognizing where am I on this ruler of
Mhm.
my nervous system allows us to not get to breakdown,
Yeah.
meltdown,
Exactly.
burnout space, allows us to just, oh, I'm at a 6. What do I need? And maybe
Yes.
it's a few rounds of breathing, which I know, Charisse, you and I both love the
Mhm.
power of breath work. I mean,
Mhm.
that is what you're actually doing for all my medical peeps out there. You're actually stimulating the vagus nerve.
Yep.
That's the central queen of our parasympathetic nervous system is our vagus nerve. And your vagus nerve, we all learned from medical school, goes straight to your lungs and to other really cool places like your tongue and different
Mhm.
places. But we can use our bodies to guide us back into parasympathetic nervous system state,
Yes.
even if the world is falling apart around you. And that's the superpower right there
It
is
is.
maintaining that awareness during the day and checking in with yourself multiple times a day. And you asked the question, when I first started doing this, I had literally had an alarm, and we learned this from our mentor, Tracy Litt. Sharice and I did.
Mhm.
I'm looking for my phone to show you,
I know.
but
The alarms on your phone.
I had the alarms on my phone,
Yeah. Still do. Always.
which
Yeah.
it didn't work so well for patient care. So I actually developed a different system that I teach my clients, my coaching clients, and that is using a little bit of neurolinguistic programming. We anchor that to certain actions we take during the day at work.
I
So
love
maybe
this.
maybe it's sitting at your computer, and so now your computer has a little sticky note on it reminding you to breathe, or
Mhm.
even just to check in with yourself and find out, where am I? But sometimes it takes literally breathing to find out where you are.
Absolutely.
Because when you and I started this call, I didn't feel amped up. I'm excited. Things are
Right.
this feels good. And we
Mhm.
and we we sometimes equate happiness to calm, and it's not the same thing. We
Oh, yeah.
can
No.
be in a place of excitement and flow and eagerness, especially when we're creating something fun for our businesses.
Mhm.
But sometimes that activation can push us over the edge and get us stressed out. So it feels
Absolutely.
exciting. Checking off
Right.
boxes, feels fun. But that adrenaline surge can be addicting. And that adrenaline leads to, you know, fatigue, exhaustion, overwhelm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I love that you share. So thank you for sharing this of really tying in if it's not feasible for you to have a
Yes.
phone with an alarm. And I do have my alarm set. I literally, my husband actually noticed it the other day. I left it in the bedroom and walked away. And I have an alarm that goes, it's literally set for every hour to alarm. And it's not the obnoxious, like, it's a very calming, classical, alarm. And it goes off every hour between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. And it's one of them, each of them, I've labeled them slightly different. But one of them is breathe.
Yes.
And my husband, my husband picked it up. He was like, "Do you forget to breathe?"
Yeah.
He's like, "You have to remind yourself to breathe." I'm like, "No, no, no, not just breathing, but breathing." And anyway, it was really funny. He was like, "I've never seen anyone have to remind themselves to breathe," because he's thinking, just breathe.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just
Oh
thought
my
it was
gosh.
really
We're
comical.
we're living the same life because my kids now say it. They're like, they hear the alarm go, they go, "Breathe, mom."
I love it. I I love it.
extending. But
Yeah,
you're right,
and then
and
but it may not be practical, like you
it's not, right?
said,
It's
for
not always
everyone, depending on your
right,
the flow of your day.
right,
But to have a routine or ritual, so like in a sticky, when you sit down at your computer, that's your
right.
reminder to breathe. When you walk out a certain door, walk down a certain pathway, that's a reminder to breathe. When
That's it.
you
Exactly it.
yeah, so picking something that works for you, because a lot of times we're like, oh, that sounds good in theory. I can't do that. My schedule's not allowed, won't allow for that. So you chunk the whole idea instead of looking at, okay, how can I make this work for me? Because it is vitally important. Because here's the thing: when we are always in that fight, flight, fight or flight, freeze fawn. There we go. Like, what's the other two? When we're in that response, our body is pumping massive amounts of cortisol. We're
Mhm.
in a heightened stress response. It's creating a massive strain on our adrenals. It is causing our heart rate to go up. You may not even be cognizant of it, because that's your normal state of being. It's creating your blood pressure to go up and stay
Mhm.
elevated. It's causing really your prefrontal cortex to kind of go offline, so you're not really able to make decisions the way you would normally make decisions if you weren't in
Yes.
that elevated, stress response. And so, and I love your analogy, Taryn, about the visual with the um,
The ruler.
ruler. I was going to say calendar,
Yeah,
the ruler.
because we think we're either stressed or not stressed,
Exactly.
and that's just not true.
It's not true.
Sometimes we're somewhere in the middle, and sometimes it's going to Target that stresses you out,
Right.
and we judge that, and we think like, I
Right.
shouldn't be stressed right now," so we talk that down, but it doesn't mean that you're not stressed. I mean,
Right.
for me, grocery shopping is stressful.
Me too, Taryn. I don't
I'm
like
not a
grocery shopping.
fan.
I don't
Not
do
a
it.
fan, right?
Seriously, I don't.
I don't either.
There's the only time we won't even go there. I only like going to Whole Foods. That's the only, because
Oh,
I'll just kind of zone out and like wander through the aisles with no real agenda. But like to go regular grocery shopping every day at, like, Kroger or HEB or whatever. I don't like grocery shopping.
well,
It
see,
brings
now
me
you're
stress.
100%, and now we're identifying, like, the black belt level of nervous system regulation, by the way, is when you start to be really honest with yourself about what's triggering you, and then you start to choose what
Mhm.
you're no longer available for. And I know this, we've said this. We talk about this all the time, but what if we used our nervous system to tell us that?
Yeah.
So, for example, in business, what is not lighting you up? If it's doing the QuickBooks for your business, why don't you delegate that
Delegate it.
out? If it's doing laundry, delegate that
Delegate it.
out, right? Right? And that's where business growth starts to become fun. That's
Absolutely.
where it starts to get really exciting. Now, as we're regulating our nervous system during the day, it's on the mountaintops that we get the downloads and the exciting new ideas about our next
So true.
launch. It's when we're sitting at the beach and, just for a moment, remember the last time you went to the beach or sat on a mountaintop, and what did you do? You went,
Yeah, you breathed.
you did exactly that.
Yeah.
And, and I love that you were touching on how you can incorporate this into your day.
Mhm.
Breathing, we can do it behind a mask in front of our patients. You don't have to have your eyes closed,
Right.
and so you can literally, what I started doing is every time I looked at a radiograph,
Mm.
that was my cue. I started
I love
attaching
it.
radiograph with take a deep breath. That's
I
it.
love that. And think
So
about how many times you do that through the course of your day,
yeah,
right? And so,
exactly.
right, I
Exactly.
love
And for
it.
me now, I can't look at a radiograph without, and once again, how much more accurately do you read that radiograph when you're in a place of calm as opposed to
Exactly.
stress? So
Yeah,
every single time when you feel good, I mean, when your body feels good, that's when you can actually do the things you're here to do. Grow the beautiful businesses that you're growing. Serve your incredible clients. Treat your beautiful patients. Actually, be a parent to these beautiful children, or as a spouse to your loved ones.
right.
Um, it's and this is where I know you and I both agree, Charisse. It's our responsibility.
It is. Oh my gosh.
It's
It
our
really is.
responsibility. It really is.
It
Mm.
really is. There's so many things I want to ask you. So one of the things that I do, and I actually started mentioning, about I have alarm set on my phone to go off every hour, and I take 90 seconds. And at first, when I started this practice, well, when before I started this practice, I'm like, there's no way in the world I'm going to be able to take
Mm.
90 seconds every hour to take some deep breaths. I'm like, there is no way. That sounds good in theory, but it's not going to work. Until I said, well, just try it. Just don't judge it. Just try it. And it is possible. I'm just here to tell you, even with a crazy busy, I run two businesses, two multi six figure businesses. I'm a mom of two boys. I am a wife. I am, all the things. We wear all the hats, right? And I can still spare 90 seconds. When my alarm goes off, I honor that. And I've made it a priority to honor it because I know that I'm better. I know that I can do so much more good, not just for myself, but everyone who's attached to me, in some way, shape, or form. So I've prioritized that, and so I'll take literally 90 seconds. I have a little timer on my phone. When my alarm goes off, I hit the timer. I'll do alternate nostril breathing for 90 seconds just to recenter, reground, recalibrate, regulate my nervous system, and then I go on about my day. And so, what are some of the things that how do you or how are some other ways or what are some other ways that we can regulate our nervous system?
Yeah, awesome. Great question. And by the way, I would even argue that's how you do it.
It
It's
is,
not just that you can, it's how you do it and you thrive. I
yeah.
mean, we know we can push ourselves to do anything. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
we are so capable. We can push ourselves to do anything, but is that living? Is that thriving? Is that
right.
fun? You know, this is when I started out this whole journey of the business of happiness. It started from how do you have a successful, phenomenal business and be happy?
Right.
How do you do that? That's
'Cause
where the business of happiness came from,
and
like,
I love that.
and I started just interviewing extremely successful people who were also happy. I was like, "What do you do? What do you do?" And interestingly, at that time, there was no language around this nervous system regulation, but what everyone was saying was meditation.
Hmm.
And that really, for extremely successful business owners, seemed to be a very common core theme.
Practice, yeah, for sure.
And what you just said is exactly it. It's the practice of it, right? It's just the dedication to the practice. There's so much inundating our nervous systems every day that taking the responsibility to practice that vagal tone, and
Mhm.
all vagal tone, our athletes all know, is how quickly you can go from stressed out to calm, right? That's literally vagal tone is measuring the variability of heart rate. So they'll put, when you have your vagal tone stress test done, you're on a bicycle and you're,
Mhm.
speeding up, stressing your body out on
Right,
a stationary bike. And then they check to see how quickly you get back to calm. It's the same thing with stress, right?
right.
How quickly you can get back to calm. So we're not saying you're never going to experience stress. It's going to happen every single day,
As long as you're alive.
but practicing getting back to calm is what strengthens that muscle, that vagal tone rapidity. So some of the practices I have are most definitely breath work, I think is by far the most powerful. And
Mhm.
yes, I think alternate nostril works for me. And that's another good point is everybody's nervous systems are slightly different.
So true. So true.
So what works for one person might not work for another.
Right.
Another one that I love are tongue circles.
I do too.
Yeah. I love tongue circles, and I
Yeah.
hated them at first because my tongue did not like doing it, but basically, what tongue circles are, remember vagus nerve tongue? That makes a
Yep.
lot of sense to me, so I think I my belief system is so strong, like, scientists from a science background,
It
that
makes
speaks to
sense.
me, yes.
Right, right. Uh-huh.
So all you're doing is you're basically taking your tongue and following your tongue through the buccal vestibule down, and then following up through all the spaces in one rotational clockwise pattern, and then switching. So you do about 3 rounds one direction and 3 rounds the other. If you're starting it out, your base of your tongue is gonna be tired.
Mhm.
My tongue did not like doing it, but notice how much calmer you feel afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, Another big one for me is um, using different textures on the bottom of my feet.
Mhm.
So I have this beautiful feather that I use on the bottom of my feet in the morning before I get in the shower. And that reminds me, another one that does it for me is dry brushing. Have you ever
I
done dry
I
brushing?
well, I'll say every day, almost every day. Almost
I
every
l
day.
For me, that's a
Yeah.
phenomenal nervous system regulator.
Yeah.
There's something about, and it's that bilateral brushing,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah.
that's why exercise is a great nervous
Right.
system regulator because it's that bilateral bicortical stimulation. So
Mhm.
dancing, exercising, running, walking, hiking for me is a big one.
Oh,
Anything that combines being outside,
with
what
nature.
I call vista vision. And so that's just that. Remember when I was mentioning being on a mountaintop
Mhm.
or being at the beach and you immediately take that
Yes.
sigh? That's what I call vista vision. It's having a big vista in front of you.
I love that.
And there have actually been studies that have shown that they've done with cancer patients where they even brought in images of this vista view that
Mhm.
help them recover more quickly because when our nervous system is in a place of calm,
Mhm.
we allow for healing in our bodies.
It's so
Um,
true. When as you mentioned that, I just thought about something. So in 2019, my mom was in on a hospice unit, and
oh,
I noticed it didn't occur to me at the time until right when you said it that all of the not all, but maybe one of the four walls was like a vista. It was like a mural. It wasn't a
ooh,
mural, but I don't even know how to really how to describe it, but it was a visual of either water or like ocean, river, nature, trees, and it just occurred to me when you said that. I'm like,
mhm.
oh, that's why they did that.
It is. It's
That's it. Yeah,
there has been
I love it,
research
and
to
it was very
show.
calming and peaceful. Hmm.
Beautiful. And now imagine the antithesis of it is looking at something really small
Hmm.
and focused and really
Right,
close to your eyes. So you can imagine dentists, that's who a lot of people who I coach, like
right,
we're in there all day.
right.
That's sympathetic nervous system stimulation right there. So how do
Hmm.
you stimulate your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system? You focus on something really small and discreet. Your computer screen is
Hmm.
really close to you. You know, sitting down, focusing down and inward all day is a sympathetic nervous system stimulator. So giving yourself the space to take a step back
Yes.
is so important.
So good. Oh my gosh,
Mm.
so good, so good. And as you were sharing, one thing that I thought about that I want to definitely mention, just want to bring up is anxiety. If you find that I was actually sharing this with one of my clients the other day. If you find that if you would consider yourself an anxious person or you suffer with
Mhm.
anxiety, one of the best things, most effective things you can do starting right now, this very second, is taking time outs to breathe.
It's so powerful.
It's so powerful because it's so because it helps you to come back to base camp. It helps you come back to center. Oftentimes when we're anxious, what triggers that? Well, there's lots of different things that could trigger it, but oftentimes it is we're either looking too far ahead in the future
Mhm.
and anticipating all the things, or something has triggered a thought, a feeling, an emotion that we've experienced in our past. So we're not being present. We're either looking too far ahead or we're reliving something from the past, and now we're anxious. And so just being present in the
Mhm.
moment, taking some slow and deep breaths. And it sounds so simple. It's like, no, that's not going to help. Yes, you test it. Don't even take my word for it.
Yeah. And
Test it.
in addition to anxiety, I know another very common feeling is, do I have ADHD? Like I've just noticed
Yes.
like I can't focus.
Right.
I'm my attention span's so short. I've got to be constantly stimulated. And even if you actually do have a form of ADHD, one still this is so important for you to
So
do
important. Even
because
more so. Yeah.
we forget that increased stress decreases our executive function.
Yes.
And executive function are all those critical, beautiful things that you once upon a time used to be so good at. But now you feel like you just can't access the memory or you keep forgetting things. You walk into a room and you're like, what did I come here to do? And the words can't come out of your mouth. You find that you're not able to have good word recall,
Yeah.
or even planning things, or being patient to schedule and do the things that we know how to do in terms of leaders,
Mhm.
as leaders. That might be because of your increased stress level. And we are all living in this, and especially in the environments that we've been mentioning. And so we normalize it. We think this
Right.
isn't stress, but really
This
we're
is
all
Mhm.
living at an 8 or a 9 on our
Well,
ruler.
I'm so glad you said that, because we when we're not being cognizant of incorporating these practices that we've been talking about, we may not be at a 10 all the time, but we're like an 8 or 9, which is better than a 10, but it's not, this is not where you want to live.
No.
There's no fun, there's no joy, there's no peace, there's no calm, there's no expansion, there's no creativity,
Yes.
there's no business growth at an 8.
Nope.
It doesn't happen. And so, but it's been normalized. Either
Mhm.
you're screaming at the top of your lungs, like you're totally freaked out, like so you're a 10 off the rails, or if you're 8, you're good. How about can we at least let's get to 5?
I know. I know.
But really, let's get to 0. And is it possible to get to 0 every hour? Absolutely, you can. If that's what you choose to do. If that's what you set your intention for it, you set an alarm or whatever it is that you need to do and make it part of your practice. Yes, you can get back to that 0. And to your
Yeah.
point, you're less likely to get to 10 and fly off the handle every time you look around,
Yeah.
because that is a clear indication that you are severely dysregulated.
Yeah.
If you're
Absolutely.
always on the brink of losing it, that is your indicator.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
your indicator.
Yeah. If your
Yeah.
kids just misplaced your cell phone charger and you just lost it,
Yeah.
there's a good indicator.
Yeah.
If if you didn't get the 20 registration on your next launch and you feel like a complete failure and you want to give up your beautiful dream and this incredible work you're doing,
That's an
maybe you're dysregulated. Yeah, this is an
yeah.
indicator. And I think the other thing that often I hear from clients is, I've done so much already. Like, look how far I've come. Like, I grew businesses dysregulated. I ran a whole marathon dysregulated.
Me too. Well, not well. I can't
Yeah.
say marathon piece, but
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 I like to
I've
use that as an example.
created
Exactly.
multi 6-figure businesses
Yes.
previously, 100% dysregulated and didn't even know it.
Didn't even know it. And that's the little tricky sly thing,
Yeah.
is that your body says, "But wait a minute, you've done just look at all the good you've done. Look at all the hard work you've done and all the achievement you've accomplished. You got through nursing school
Right.
dysregulated and you graduated, sister. Like, bravo." Now imagine what you could have done and
Right.
how far you can go when you do that from a place of regulation and calm.
I'm telling you.
It's not an indicator that you did anything wrong. It's just that's how powerful you are, that now you can actually go to the next level of
Yes.
growth and ascension and realize how much more you can do when you take care of yourself.
So true. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because us high achievers, we always talk
Yeah,
about that. Like us high, be like, but I got all this stuff done. That's
look at
how
me.
I operate. That's how I do things. It's like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I'm
and
great at getting things done at the last minute.
right.
I'm great under
Under
pressure.
pressure. Yes. That's this one here.
And I
Yeah, and when you allow yourself the time, the space,
Mm,
how much more effective are you? How much more poignant are you? How much more productive are you? How much more creative are you? How much more do you actually enjoy the process?
I know how happy are you really? How
And
happy are you really,
that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
How happy
yeah.
are you really? I love
Mm,
that. I could
mhm.
talk nervous system regulation every day, all day, because it's so important. But I do want to do like just a quick recap. So if you're wondering if you need to incorporate nervous system regulation, the answer is yes. Every single last one of you that are listening, that is a yes. I don't care. It doesn't matter.
And
Yes. If
and
you
only
are,
because you're human.
and only because you're human, not because you're doing something wrong, not because you are in a certain field. It's if you are alive right now, 2023, hearing this message, you are, unless this is something you have already started to incorporate into your life, you're just regulated. Can we just put it out there? You're dysregulated unless this is a practice of yours. Okay, so now that we're clear on that, some of the things that Dr. Tarryn has shared with us that we can do to help regulate our nervous system. And this is not a one and done, in case you were wondering. This is not, uh, once a week. This is a practice, a daily practice. And for me, it's an hourly practice.
Mhm.
And but you could do alternative nostril breathing for 90 seconds every hour, or create your own schedule. That's my schedule. That's it. I thought it was absolutely impossible, but it's definitely possible. And I feel so, and I create, oh my god, I can't, the things that I'm creating for my clients for the next level of my business, you don't even understand. But anyway, um you mentioned dry skin brushing. You
Mm.
mentioned um
Dancing.
dancing, walking,
Mm.
hiking.
Mhm.
You mentioned a feather,
Mhm.
tactile stimuli, something that's pleasurable. Now, what's interesting is, and you did point this out, is that excuse me, is that um, if it's pleasurable to you.
Yes.
Now, because I was actually having a conversation with my son, and I love dry skin brushing. It's very
Mm.
pleasurable to me. I love it. I walked towards him. He was like, "That ain't it." Because so I had two things in my hand. I had a dry skin brush, and I had a soft piece of satin. And I walked towards him, and I was leading with the dry skin brush. He's like, "No, mom, that's not it." He said, "You can stop right there.
Yeah.
That's not going to feel good." Okay, go with what feels good
Yeah.
to you. So that's it. Again, notice your body. Your body will never lie.
Yeah.
Notice he was like, he was like, you can stop. It was kind of funny.
And isn't that
Mhm.
exciting that we get to find that out too? For
Isn't
each of
it?
us, it's
Yep.
different, you
And
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is.
For
And
me, another big one
mhm,
is, as I mentioned, getting outside.
yes,
That's an
absolutely.
instant for me. That can
Mhm.
bring me right back to clarity and calm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so making sure I get out and especially in the healthcare world where working through lunch, I that's a non-negotiable. I get out at lunch every day. Rain,
Yes.
snow, storm, doesn't matter. I get outside. It makes such a big difference.
I
Mm,
love that. I
mm,
too am a huge proponent of nature, getting out in nature for so
mm.
many reasons. Um, and in between clients,
Yeah.
I will go in my backyard or in my front yard, either one or two. Just, shoes off, feet in the grass, ground, take some deep breaths. And it's not even. Sometimes it's literally it can be like 2 minutes in between
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah.
Um, I oftentimes have more time than that, but if that's all it is, that's it. But I feel so refreshed and grounded and centered,
Mhm.
and able to come into my next session with my client clear, have a level headed, clear, calm, collected, ready to serve at my highest level.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the top of the hour, I think this is a good way to wrap this too, is the intention. Because if you just
Yeah.
run outside, put your feet in the grass, and then run back in, it's not working.
Right.
It's setting the intention and then being present for it, of regulating
Present.
in that moment. Yeah.
Present. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then you
Mm.
mentioned tongue circles. Tongue circles.
Yes.
So we have mentioned at least five, six, seven, eight things that you can do.
Mhm.
Pick one. Don't make it complicated. Pick one and just start incorporating into your everyday life.
Mhm.
Top of the hour, the top of the day, end of the day, throughout the day, whatever it is. Just start the practice of, and it never ends because you know how we are. We're very systematic. And what's the regimen? How often?
Mm.
You just do it. I share with you my regimen literally every hour, 90 seconds from 9 to 9. What is your regimen? And it's going to be different for everyone. I'm just throwing it out there, you guys, because I know how we think. Um, so what is your protocol, if you will?
Love it, love it. Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you do, I know you said you do top of the hour. Oh, excuse me, not
Oh,
you do,
I thought you were asking your listeners to think about
oh no,
what
I'm
their
asking,
protocol was. Oh, you're
well,
asking me.
I do
My
want
oh,
everyone to create their own protocol,
yes.
but I know they want to know.
Yeah.
Yes, what's
Oh,
yours?
mine.
Mhm.
Mine is meditation first thing. That's
Absolutely.
the first thing,
Yeah.
that I do every morning, and then I move my body, and that's
Mhm.
important for me too, and that's a part of that nervous system regulation, and then my breathing breaks throughout the day, and as I mentioned, mine are attached to habits, that are a part of my day. So if I'm in the office, it's attached to specific I have a doorknob, going into my new patient exam room, and I've anchored that doorknob with breathing, so I don't walk through the door until I've taken 3 deep breaths, and I've
Oh,
done it
that's so good.
I've done it so much, Charisse, that I can't touch it without breathing, without intentionally
So you just
breathing.
take that second, a few
Mhm.
seconds, probably not even 90 seconds.
No, no, it's
Take
probably about 30, 3
three
deep
slow and deep
breaths.
breaths before you enter a new
Mhm,
patient room and you
mhm.
walk in. I love
And then
that.
I walk in,
Yeah.
and I did that with my car door as well.
Yep.
So that's another big part. And then, for me, another big thing is, as I mentioned, not just the breathing throughout the day, but moving my body. So I have the same thing. For me, I almost imagine it like an energetic release between clients or between patients,
Mhm.
which involves either breathing or getting outside. What you just said, I do the same thing between clients. I get outside, I energetically just
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
wipe off the energy, get ready for the new space. And there's something about that action too, which regulates.
So true.
And then I think, that then, bookending the day with that gratitude practice helps with my nervous system regulation as well, because my old habit pattern was falling asleep to Netflix or,
Mhm.
being so amped up all day. And I will say this, and we've gone way over your
I
time.
know we have. I know. But let's just keep going at this point.
It's
I mean,
just
we'll wrap
yeah, right.
now. But
Here we
yeah,
go.
this is so important though,
It's so important,
Yeah.
and I think what I didn't know in the past is that I was looking for ways to regulate my nervous system, but I was doing them in harmful
Oh
ways.
my gosh. Yes.
And one of them was, for me, alcohol.
Yeah.
So, what I used alcohol for at the end of the day was to calm myself down.
Yep.
Like, and can't we all just identify with that? Like, oh my God, it's just been such a crazy day. I just need to calm down,
A glass of
or
wine.
a glass of wine,
Yeah.
right? And so we sometimes use things like Netflix, like alcohol, like sugar for me was
Mhm.
just it wasn't calming my nervous system down, but it was just giving me a change of state.
Even
Um,
salty, like
yeah,
chips, crunchy,
chips.
salty. Yeah.
Right? We're looking for something. There's like
Mhm.
this urge of like, how do I calm myself down? And, for me, now we're going off topic a bit, but for me, I had a long struggle with alcohol where for 5 years I was trying to quit. And I couldn't figure out why every
Mm.
program I tried, I couldn't quit. And this was it. I hadn't found how to regulate. I didn't realize it. That's what it was doing for me.
Yeah.
The alcohol was regulating my nervous system for me, and until I was able to do that for myself,
Mhm.
I didn't have the dependency on a chemical substance to do that for me, because we can't live in that place
Right.
eternally. It erodes every single part of our bodies, and we
So
know that. We tell our patients, you need to find a way to calm and relax. We
Mhm.
preach this all day long, but
Yeah.
recognizing it in and of ourselves is so important. Yeah.
So good. Oh my gosh, that's a whole other topic. I'm gonna have to have
Yeah.
it back. I mean,
Let's do it
that's
again.
just what that's about. Yeah.
That's just what that's about.
That's what that's
Yes.
about. You'll have to come
Good.
back. And just as an end cap to this conversation, because we're all clinicians here, the benefits are so enormous.
Mm.
We talked about we talked about we've talked a lot about how we should do it, and I think we even talked about kind of why we should do it. But I really want to take it to just a physiological, like what happens physiologically. As we wrap, is things start to come back online. A lot of things start to come back online. So if you happen to be someone who you just don't, your libido's decreased, watch what happens when you start incorporating nerve. I know, right? What?
Especially for women.
Especially for women,
Especially for women.
you'll see an increase in libido.
Mhm.
You will start to see a decrease in blood pressure. You will start to
Mhm.
see a decrease in blood sugar for any of those out
Mhm.
there that are, and that this is not a catch-all. It's not a panacea. But when but notice
Mhm.
how your blood sugar start to regulate itself better. Your blood pressure starts to regulate itself better. Your libido starts to come on. You start making better. You start having more creativity,
Mhm.
and so just watch and see the subtle, sometimes not so subtle, changes that
Mhm.
start to occur when you start to embody and when you start to create your own practice around
Sleep.
sleep. Oh my gosh. which has so many. So can we talk about healing, right? So if you're
Healing.
sleeping better, we know that our body does. I feel like I say this every episode because everything comes back to sleep, right? But when you're sleeping better, when you're getting enough quality and quantity of sleep, guess what? Your body's able to heal. It does its major lifting and repairing and restoring and regenerating when we're sleeping.
Yeah, and here's the magic is nervous system regulation is free.
Heck,
Free, costs $0.
$0, and it doesn't even take
0.
that much time.
No,
It doesn't.
and it's 100% within your power to be able to do it.
Accessible. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. So thank you.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
for sharing all this beautiful
Thank
richness
you.
with us today.
This is
You
so
will,
fun with
I
you,
know, wasn't it?
Cherise.
You have to come back. We'll talk about
Do it.
some other things.
Yes.
And but thank you. Thank you
Thank
from the
you.
bottom of my heart. This was so fun. And those of you who are listening, share this episode. Share this. It doesn't even matter who you share it with. And the reason why I say that is because, again, as I mentioned, if you're on Earth in 2023, if this is not a normal practice for you, you're dysregulated. Every single person gets to start regulating the nervous system on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So share this episode. Thanks so much for joining us. I cannot wait to see y'all next time for another episode of the Cherise Williams Show. Bye for now.